Hi guys, good morning. This is Dan. Welcome to Engelgeist. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are returning, welcome back. For those of you that support me over on Patreon, thank you so very much for your subscriptions. They mean the world to me. So if you are interested in subscribing to the channel in that way, you can go to patreon.com and look up Engelgeist and choose a subscription level. And from there, you can get the daily forecast a day early, or other readings that are only available over there, depending on the subscription level that you choose. This is the forecast for Sunday, starting on Sunday. So it's like a micro macro forecast, right? It's for Sunday, but also for the entirety of the week between December 20th and December 26th. It is a timeless message, therefore it's for the highest good of the greater collective. So if you're seeing it on a date that doesn't fall within those dates, that's okay. You might need the information when you're seeing it. So you can watch through the video and take the information and use it however you see fit. If you do make any decisions from any of my videos in your personal life, know that those decisions are your own responsibility. Always take whatever I say secondary to your own intuition and intelligence. And if anybody is that is a professional in their field, like a doctor, lawyer, therapist, anybody that's giving you information, please take what they say first and foremost over anything that I say in any of my readings. All right, so let's get into this. If anything doesn't make sense, that's completely fine. It doesn't mean anything's wrong. It just might mean that you might be working on something different at this time. These are broad spectrum readings intended to reach a lot of people. So you kind of have to figure out where it best fits in your life and then apply it as such, right? Like use it in whatever way that best suits you. Okay, so let's see. What do we need to know? December 20th to the 26th. We've got that Jupiter-Saturn conjunction happening. They're shifting into the sign of Aquarius, which is a very big deal. We also have Christmas happening. A lot of stuff going on this week. All right, so each card is going to represent for a day or two. Some of you might experience only one of these cards. Some of you might experience all three of these cards and then some. But it gives us kind of an idea of what's going on during the week. So our first card is the Seven of Wands. So to me, the Seven of Wands can be about kind of work, struggle. It can indicate a little bit of a fight, a little bit of a, back and forth, push-pull energy. Wands is about action and desire, trying to get things done, trying to make things happen. I don't think, let me just look at this for a minute. I kind of feel like this is a little bit of a back and forth. Like it's not really necessarily my favorite card to see for us, only because I feel like that goat to me feels very like he doesn't want to move. Like stubborn is the feeling that I get there. I also don't like that this guy down here, this little angry dog. I feel like there's just a lot of struggle, push-pull energy, maybe some stubbornness. Maybe we're dealing with people that don't want to budge. We might be dealing with people that want to argue, fight, give us trouble. We might find ourselves frustrated, angry, annoyed with others. This definitely feels like a card where we're interacting with other people, whether it's about our reaction towards them or how they're reacting towards us. Either way, the experience is sort of, let's just face it, it's the Seven of Wands. It's sort of negative. It's not the best card in the deck, right? Is it insurmountable? Not necessarily, but it is sort of, maybe people are getting on our nerves, situations are getting on our nerves, we might feel challenged, we could feel extra emotional, or not that this is an emotional card per se, but the frustration and the annoyance that I feel with this card could be stemming from the holidays that are coming and dealing with maybe family or friends or the stresses of just, getting prepared for the holidays. It could be some of that too. So I don't want to give you guys a full-on bad beginning of the week, but it doesn't feel like it's the easiest. Let's just say that. So let's go to the midweek and see if we can kind of, oh God, we've got the Seven of Cups. What's going on with this Seven energy. So, Seven of Wands leading into the Seven of Cups. Seven of Cups to me is that emotional sort of turmoil in a way. It can be about confusion. It can be about having one too many options, one too many choices. She's a little bit sort of vulnerable, being standing there naked in the card. The blood to me appears, or not that it's blood, but this like dripping is dripping upwards, which also gives it a sort of surreal quality. I get the distinct feeling as I'm looking at this, it almost feels like some of you, and this could be only a very specific reading for maybe one person, but somebody's going to get in an argument and then be very hurt by midweek by the argument. There could be a loss, is sort of also the feeling that I'm getting from this. You might find that you have to separate yourself from a person or situation, or you might find that you have to basically the vibe that I'm getting is, and this may be only for one specific person. Some of you might find that you're in some sort of an argument or a back and forth push-pull scenario that causes you great frustration or anger. From that, you either lose something or you have to pull away from something, and that causes the confusion and the emotionality that we see in the Seven of Cups. Some of us might, I don't know why, but I feel like this sense of retreat with the Seven of Cups. I don't necessarily associate the Seven of Cups with retreat, but to me, it feels like she's pulling back. She's going into her emotions. She's trying to sort things out. She's trying to like shake off any sort of confusion, misgivings, misinformation that's being given to her. If anybody feels as though they're being potentially gaslighted, we're going to face that in the midweek. God, this is a little bleak, guys. Let's look at the end of the week card. Okay, so I'll take it. We've got the Justice card. So Justice is major arcana. This is about truth coming out. I love the clarity of the sword, and she's standing behind the clarity of that sword. This is represented by the sign of Libra, right? We see that represented here in the scales that are kind of hanging on either side. There could be some sort of significant truth that comes out at the end of all of this week for you guys. And the truth is going to be different for each and every one of you. Some of you, it may be your own truth. Some of you, it may be truth around another. Some of it may be truth about yourself, right? Something that maybe you've done or that you're not necessarily as fully proud of, right? I think that this Justice card represents in a lot of different ways for different people, right? So when I'm looking at this, I see this sort of play out in the sense that maybe in the early part of the week, maybe we've bit back at somebody or mouthed off or engaged in an argument that we didn't necessarily feel so great about. And we've retreated back into our corner, felt the pain of that. And by the week's end, right, we have to sort of look at that or come to terms with that. That's just one sort of scenario that I see out of these. For those of you that are being treated poorly and you're feeling that, right? Somebody's like backstabbing you or challenging you in some way, fighting with you. The truth sort of maybe comes out as we sit alone in sort of the confusion around why we're being treated that way. And in the end of the week, we come to some sort of realization or epiphany around this relationship and the fact that we maybe aren't able to take it with us into 2021. Ultimately, when I look at these cards, the discomfort that I sense in the Seven of Wands and the confusion in the Seven of Cups that they represent, right, is this idea that through this transformation or through this dis-ease, and I mean not disease, I mean dis-ease with what's ever going on here and here, we get to this state of justice, which means that in some ways, whether we have to walk away from a situation, let someone go, deal with the reality of what's actually been going on or how we've been being treated or how we've been treating others, something to that effect, right? It's going to be a realization that ultimately serves us for our own highest good, regardless of what that realization is, whether it's about somebody else and their behavior or whether it's about us and our behavior. Ultimately, the Justice card brings in this sort of sometimes hard-learned facts or awareness that we have to come to terms with, right? I do feel like this deck is a little bit on the, more, I wouldn't say morbid side, but this card doesn't feel like this is a happy moment. But ultimately what I want to call out here, and I feel like maybe she's a little bit beleaguered, right? Justice is not a bad card per se, but in this scenario, she feels a little bit tired by week's end. Maybe it's the the holidays that have put us through the ringer. Maybe it's dealing with family. It's brought up emotions. It's brought up arguments, resentments from the past, those sort of things. But ultimately, this Justice card frees us from those things, hopefully by the week's end, through realizations, sometimes hard won, right? So there might be things that we don't want to see, that we have to look at so that we can make better and more informed, just decisions around who we interact with, how we interact with them, when we interact with them, why we interact with them. You know, these are the questions that we might want to be asking ourselves. And is the responsibility our own, or is it theirs? And if it's theirs, can we really trust them anymore? These are just questions that are coming up in my mind as I'm looking at these cards. I feel like ultimately the Justice card stands there by herself with that singular sword, that clarity and that understanding and that willingness to sort of, you know, make decisions from a place of hopefully clarity, right? But do we go through it this week emotionally and mentally to possibly learn that stuff? Yeah, I think we do. And it's going to be up to us. It's like when I look at these three cards, I feel like it is up to us to be our own, I don't know if caretaker is the right word, but we have to stand in our own truth. We have to do what we know to be right for us first and foremost, regardless of what others are doing, how they're treating us, how it makes us feel, right? Like I keep looking at that Seven of Cups. If we find ourselves in a situation that isn't like treating us correctly, that is, you know, I don't know, denying us in some way, confusing us in some way, dishonoring us in some way, it's really up to us to sort of sever those ties by week's end, or to redefine those relationships in a way that allow us to like stand on our own 2 feet, be in our own power. Will we get there? Yes, with this Justice card at the end, but I kind of get this feeling that it's not necessarily the easiest lesson to learn, or maybe say the easiest person or situation to let go of for us. It comes with like at a cost. And maybe that cost is the experience that we have to go through these 2-7 cards this week. I also kind of get this feeling that it's sort of, we're not supposed to be taking this with us into 2021. So whatever this might be, if this is just even frustration with our own society or the pandemic or whatever we've been dealing with, it's about time that we deal with it, release ourselves from it, and come to some semblance of understanding. So here is your Song of the Heart card. It's I Adapt and Thrive. Emerald lakes shine on top of the barren Tongariro crossing, and I too overcome any adversity. So I love that there's like sort of all of these mountains and clouds painted on her body, if you look at that. And we talk about sort of these emerald lakes that are in the top of the barren Tongariro crossing, right? And I too overcome any adversity, meaning that these lakes that are on top of this barren area, the barren area would indicate sort of this Seven of Wands energy. The lakes would indicate the Seven of Cups. Those lakes are sparkling, right? That's what she says in the reading with this I Adapt and Thrive. As we learn about our lakes, or like work our way through our emotional confusion around, say, a situation, we adapt and we thrive. And that's also what brings us to this Justice card at week's end. Is it the easiest of sort of adaptations? As we adapt, is it the easiest process? Maybe not, but it's going to grow us. It's going to educate us. It's going to lead us to this better, more stronger, empowered place of justice. Let's look to the grounding stone. Okay, so the grounding stone is on marble, and it is promise. So I always talk about promise as being sort of potential, right? Promise can also be something that we create, or a contract or a bond that we create with somebody through our words and our deeds and all of that sort of stuff. But when I think about this as far as promise, I think about, where is it that we want to create new things, right? And that's the opportunity of promise, the opportunity of abundance, the things that could potentially come out of situations. If we're struggling through something this week, even if it's just the emotions of the holidays and whatever that brings up in us, as we work our way through that and we get to the state of justice, which is a clearer understanding of who we are, or what we'll put up with, how we're going to deal with things moving forward, and we continue to adapt and thrive, we want to stay focused on all of this is serving a purpose. And that's sort of the idea of this promise card. There's something in this lesson this week for those of us that go through it, that are paying attention and working on it, whether it's unpleasant or uncomfortable, there's some sort of gift. That is the gift of this promise, right? It's also sort of I don't know why, but I'm kind of going to this place of this idea of being, making a promise sort of, or a commitment to ourselves to sort of move into something better, to adapt and to thrive, even if things don't seem like they're working out in our favor. Hence, we were talking about those barren hills, right? The sparkling lakes that are up there that, remind her to adapt and thrive, says to me that, whatever we're feeling emotionally, whatever we're dealing with, confusion, if there's confusion and the tumult of the Seven of Cups, we need to find the beauty in that, the promise in that, the learning lesson, the gift that's in there, because there is a gift. Again, it's similar to like last week's stone of inspiration, keeping our eye trained on that higher purpose, that thing that's going to serve us most, which would be an idea of possibility and promise versus an idea of, oh, fuck this, it's all miserable anyways. Do you see what I'm saying? And certainly there could be things coming at us that want to challenge us, to make us want to slip into that sort of small-minded thinking of, oh, screw this, why do I even try kind of stuff. But ultimately, by week's end, we will be empowered and feel like we better understand things, our own truth, and be able to stand in that truth. So that is your forecast for the day, or for the week. It's not the most sort of uplifting, but I don't think it's all bad, guys. I actually think that this is something that we've been maybe avoiding or needing to deal with for a long time, and this is our last sort of ditch chance to do it before we shift into Jupiter and Saturn being in Aquarius and expansion beginning to happen. We want to shed any last minute baggage that we no longer want to take with us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this, and feel free to subscribe to the channel. You can leave me any questions or comments. You can always contact me at the Facebook business page for a private reading if you'd like. And please follow all of my socials. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, and have a great week, you guys. Bye-bye.